I'd like to call the meeting to order and thank everyone for coming this evening. Let the record reflect that all currently elected board members are present. Review of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions? That being the case, we're going to go into our first session, which is open session. We're going to be interviewing two candidates. To make this fair, we're going to flip a coin to see who gets to go first, and we're going to ask the candidate that is not being interviewed to step outside so that there's no uneven, knowing what the questions are, that sort of thing.
And you can go in the hall, not outside.
Yeah, you don't.
Because
You
it's
just
hot
find
out there.
someplace.
It's a little too hot.
So I'll let, who wants to call it? How about we'll let Mary call it?
I'll say takes.
Okay. Washington is heads. You can be the witness. It's heads. So
It's like a
that,
Super Bowl.
yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
so
Dave.
I'll head to.
Yep, and we'll let you know as soon.
Marianne will get a choice, wouldn't she?
What's that? And we'll ask the questions in a rotation, that way everybody gets a chance to do it. Would you like to start first, Gigi?
Sure. Hi. We talked on the phone. I'm Gigi.
Hi, Judy.
Nice to meet you.
Marianne.
Our first question.
I've met Russ before. I've met Cindy previously. I have not met Byron, and I've worked with him.
Thank you for coming. Our first question is briefly tell us about your background as it relates to the position of school board director.
My background as it relates to the school board director, I have worked for the Fulton School District from 2002 to 2018, and I was the PSC president for the last 5 years that I worked with the district, and I've also served on the Fulton City Council. As I look for the next phase in my life and trying to decide what I wanted to do after my in-laws passed away, who I was taking care of, the school board kept coming to the top of my list on what my skill set is, what my passion is, what my community is. So here I am. I researched on how to apply. Unfortunately, when I first considered, I believed that I was in Russ's district because we only live a couple blocks away, but it turns out that 8th Street's the current boundary, and so that put me in Ed's district, and I am friends with Ed's wife Roxanne, and so there was a lot of back and forth talk, and I chose to run, and he chose not to, so here we are.
Thank you.
We do have a question about that. Okay, thank you. I'm like, I don't know where they're at. Why are you specifically interested in becoming a director?
A director helps set the policy, the rules, the budget, rather than carry out those things. The people on the ground doing the actual work have a lot of knowledge of what goes on, but sometimes they're too self-absorbed in the topic to consider other alternatives, other solutions to a problem. So sometimes it takes people outside, directors specifically, outside of the situation to take all of the data and the research and form an opinion on what would be the best thing, not the only thing that we need to do to resolve a problem.
Thank you.
I just have to say that beeping is really annoying.
I'm so sorry. I tried to kill it, I really did.
To have the fan, there's a beep.
I keep feeling like there's a fire drill and we need
I
to
can't
go
hear it at all.
outside.
It's
Deafness
either
is a wonderful.
hot or noise.
Okay,
I go for noise.
I'll try to block it out.
And I have to ask this question because we'll ask it of both members. I think I already have the answer. Do you have children in the district?
I previously had children in the district. My kids graduated in 2010 and 2013, and I was president of the Senior Parents Association for both of those years. I absolutely enjoyed being a mommy working at the district and knowing everything that happened before they got home from school. It was amazing. I don't think that my time is now stretched with kids' activities and work. I have time to focus on being on the school board.
I'm actually going to sustain from this. I think since both candidates are running, I think it creates a disadvantage for the person that does not get on board for temporary. So I'm going to sustain this. I think it would be an unfair advantage to the person that gets temporarily elected.
It's a challenge.
Have you recently attended a Sultan School Board meeting?
I have not. But in my defense, my mother-in-law, her cancer returned, and it was very important to me to be by her side these last 6 months. She passed away just this June 20th.
Are you able to cultivate meaningful working relationships with all members of the district? And how would any previous interaction shape your relationships moving forward?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes. Are you able to cultivate meaningful working relationships with all members of the district?
Yeah, I believe so, yes. I believe that I have some very strong relationships still in the district, even though I haven't been with the district for 5 years. I still frequently have dinner with people.
And how would any previous interactions shape your relationships moving forward?
Well, every day is a new day. Every issue, every topic, everybody deserves to have an opinion and be heard, as long as we're all working for the kids. And I have heard a lot of previous fighting on the board, and I do not want to continue that same pattern that was previously existing.
Thank you.
Wish I could write as fast as you guys talk. Thank you. What is the role of a board director, and what can't you do as a director?
Well, I know for a fact I can't make Sarita Whitmire suspend anybody.
It's true.
I know that a school board member is to provide leadership and guidance to policy, procedure, staff, budget, but they are not to direct staff on what to do. All questions, comments, concerns, and dialogue need to go through the superintendent, Dan Chaplick. A school board member shall never enter a school and demand, an example, demand books be removed from the library, demand to see curriculum, demand to see teachers' classroom behavioral policy. That any questions, you need to go to Dan and follow the chain of command and express why you believe there's a concern that should be addressed.
I think you covered a lot of the things we can't do. What do you believe the role of the board of director is? Maybe expand.
Positive, strong, positive leader for the district. That the school board should be working as a team to promote the school district, the community, the education of our youth in a positive light. So negative behaviors, activities, bad-mouthing staff, policies, or procedures that are going on that you disagree with, absolutely not.
Thank you. I guess we'll go back to.
I'm going to read the whole question and then I'll do just the first part. What are some things that board members can do to contribute to positive growth? And what are some things that they shouldn't do, things that may undermine the district? So first, what are some things board members can do to contribute to positive growth?
When you say positive growth, are you talking about enrollment count growth, or are you talking about professional development growth?
Positive, like a positive, collaborative environment.
A positive collaborative environment. Well, I think a positive thing would be to meet with student councils and find out what the kids think and what they want and where their needs mesh in with our board policies, and maybe they have some ideas we haven't considered and nobody's thought to ask them.
So what are some things that you shouldn't do, things that like a board member might do that would undermine the district and undermine the goals and the vision of the district?
I am appalled when I read some things on Facebook, not just for our district, but for the Monroe and Sonoma school districts. And it starts right there. Don't go on social media and air your grievances, your dirty laundry. Post positive. Post what you'd like to see, but don't in a positive way, but don't in a negative way. Thank you.
What would you do if you disagreed with the majority of the board? And how would you handle public discussion afterward?
I would try to determine why I disagree. Why their thought patterns are the way that they are, and why my thought patterns and what research is everyone using, and have a dialogue. I have no problem calling up Cindy now that I know Gigi, her phone number anyways, contacting her, and contacting Dan and saying, what is this? Can we talk about this? Let's look at it. I'll use an example. Enrollment projections. I've really been following vital statistics, birth rates, and birth rates have been declining significantly, not just in Washington State, but across the United States. And so when people aren't having babies, that's not creating kindergartners. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm willing to have conversation in how it relates and affects our school district.
Okay, how would your personal beliefs affect your work as a board member?
My personal beliefs? Having raised boys who have no problem challenging me to be better, I'm going to use an example. My firstborn is 31 and he went into the Navy. And we were having dialogue one day because they get a lot of training in the Navy. Going after boot camp, in A school, technical school. And the issue had come about gender and restrooms and locker rooms. And I had a very strong opinion and said, why can't they just use the staff locker room or the staff bathroom? Why does money need to be spent to create a whole new bathroom or locker room? And my son really ripped into me. And he said, Mom, do you have to ask permission to go to the bathroom? I said, no. What do you mean? He goes, that's all they're asking for, is to not have to ask permission. And I hadn't considered it that way. And so their perspective really forces me to look at things from a different angle. I love debating with my kids because I'm finding more and more that I'm becoming what we always laughed about our parents and our grandparents, and oh my gosh, they're so stuffy and old, I can't believe they think that way, and now I feel like that's becoming me, and my kids are trying to re-educate me, and I'm going, things are so different. But I'm trainable. I think Sarita Whitmire Speeth, when I worked with her, she had used a phrase, lifelong learners, and that has stuck with me for a really long time. Lifelong, I'm always learning new things. I'm always being pushed outside my comfort zone.
As a school district, what have we done that you don't like? And what haven't we done that you'd like to see us do?
So let's start with the first part. What has been done that I don't like? I don't like how low the assessment scores are. When I was looking at the report card for our school district and seeing how low the math scores were, math is such a critical piece of our lives as an adult. I mean, baking, using measuring cups, using fractions, money, decimal points, measuring to build a fence for your house you just bought. We use math so much, and so I'm kind of sad that kids are using their smartphone more an actual long math skills less. And the second part of that was what I really like.
What haven't we done that you'd like to see us do?
Or what haven't you done that I'd like to see? I've been thinking about this more and more in regards to employee incentives. I know that wages are a huge part of the district's budget. And I know absenteeism is a huge problem when there's not subs to cover teachers that aren't present. And I know one of the things that was done previously was kind of an incentive bonus where if you went 90 days, 120 days, 180 days without any absences, then you got a small little stipend bump in your payroll. That's great. I've heard of some of these other businesses doing kind of a point system rewards program. So when you've gone out of your way to do something amazing that got noticed from another employee or a parent, and they said, oh my gosh, she really helped me out on this. She went out of her way. And so they put your name in the hat and you collect like paper coins, I guess would be a good way to put like video game coins as my kids call it. And then they had a catalog with really cool prizes, AirPods and this and that. And so it really, and I know there's the punishment system, there's the reward system. And I just want to get people to show up to work and to keep coming back to work and not calling out and creating ruckus for the kids and the staff. Thank you.
Problem here. Are you willing to participate in trainings, regional, state, and national meetings, and other board work outside of normal meetings?
Absolutely. I really am. I don't work a second job, a 40-hour a week. My husband supports me fully, and so I have time and energy now that both of my in-laws have passed on, and the little guy I was nannying leaves September 8th. They're moving to Missouri, so all of my caregiving exploits are in.
Very good.
And you're fine with travel, like outside the state?
I'm much better with travel now, yeah. After going on my son's ship, the USS Nimitz in 2017, we flew to Hawaii and rode the Nimitz from Hawaii to San Diego and then San Diego up to Bremerton. That was the most incredible thing I've ever done outside of my comfort zone, that it has made me completely rethink my travel anxiety. Like I survived. I made it through that. Nothing could be as bad. There was not a comfortable place to sit. We did a lot of walking and standing. It was grimy, gross, loud, noisy, disgusting. And you had to sleep in a coffin with the next bunk 8 inches above your face, and I'm very claustrophobic. I survived through that. The world opened up to me after that. Like, you survived this, you can do anything. You got this.
I didn't know they let parents.
It's called a Tiger Cruise, so we just had to pay one way for airfare, and we had to pay for our food, which they've been deployed for 6 months to, I think he called it, we were giving freedom to Syria or something. Freedoms. So 6 month deployment, and they were on their return trip from their deployment.
Our last question for you tonight, Mary, is do you have any questions for us or anything else you'd like to add to your interview?
I do. Russ, if you could go back to being 12 years old, what would you do differently in your life? In regards to your education.
I would finish college. I didn't finish college. Most of my friends know that. But in my life, I have no kids. I have no regrets, and those really aren't regrets, but that's what I would do.
Cindy, what would you do?
I'd spend a lot more time doing my homework, I can tell you that.
Gigi, how about you?
Growing up, I was a nerd, and I wanted to be an attorney, and I also wanted to be the first woman president. So I kind of just like went a little different ways. So
I would have gone straight to college from high school. and not taken that detour with, I don't know if how many of you that know me, I started dating my husband in high school, and Friday will be our 33rd wedding anniversary. And so 35 years that we've been together. And so 18 we started dating, 20 we got married, 22 I had the firstborn, 23 we bought our house in Sultan, 25 had the second, and I was in my 30s when I did college, and oh my gosh, so stinking hard working for the school district, raising middle school boys and doing college. So highly encourage the kids to do college right out of high school, and don't let life get in the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
I don't know where Mary went.
Paul, do you want to see if you can find Mary? Thank you. And we're gonna do hers, and then we'll do executive session to talk, and then we will come back out to vote for our decisions.
Okay.
Richard, did her recollection of being on the Nimitz remind you of being on?
The Nimitz is similar to a small boy destroyer like I'm at, and like she said, their coffins are exactly that. But combat systems, birthing, you got 3 stacks from the floor to the ceiling, and if you sit up, you're gonna smash your head into the rack above you. So I always got a top rack, that way you at least had piping that could or could not be in your way, and you might actually need to sit up without smashing your head into something. So yeah, that's 1,000% accurate is the way she described it. My kids did a Tiger Cruise with me in Norfolk, Virginia, where they got to ride along. My son got to press the button and shoot the weapons and stuff, so they got to do it.
I think that's great. I just didn't know it existed.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of bring the families in more, give them a little bit more appreciation for what their spouses and family members do.
Good evening, Mary.
Hi. I actually have 2 first names.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's Mary Cameron.
Mary Cameron.
And I promise I'll be polite and not hit you over the head about it if you forget.
I apologize.
No problem.
And I thought, seeing that it was like 2 last names.
That's
I
what
didn't
most
real-
people think. It's fine.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Okay, we are gonna round robin the questions.
Okay.
Start with you again.
Can you briefly tell us about your background as it relates to the position of school board director?
This would be a new venture for me. I stopped working full-time when we started having kids 10 years ago because of the exorbitant cost of childcare. In that time, I got involved with a couple of different civic engagement and advocacy trainings. One with Parent Leadership Training Institute, that's out of Everett, 12 weeks, 6 hours a week. And then the other one is Washington State Association for Head Start and EPAP, our Parent Ambassador Program, which is a year-long program. And I learned pretty quickly in those programs that getting involved in my community, one of the best ways to do that is school board. So I've known I wanted to do this for a while. Thought it would be a little later in my life. But when I saw that 3 seats were being vacated all at once, it was really concerning to me. So I thought I should throw my hat in the ring now.
Why are you interested in becoming a director?
To make an impact in the schools my kids are going to. As of September, I'll have a 5th grader and a kindergartner. And I want to make sure I'm involved in what's going on at their schools, what's going on in their education.
Well, that kind of takes the thunder out of my question. Do you have any children in the district?
I do. I was active in my older daughter's last district, which was on the Toledo Reservation. Attended meetings and public comment and whatnot. And I started attending the meetings here as soon as I realized what a big change the board was going through and decided to run.
You just answered my question,
Oh,
which
sorry.
is, have you recently attended a Sultan School Board meeting?
Yes, I've also been attending the mental health meetings, and just to try and get more involved in the community in general, I've been going to the coffee meetings at City Hall on Thursday.
Thank you.
Are you able to cultivate meaningful working relationships with all members of the district? And how would any previous interactions shape your relationships moving forward?
So this is a nonpartisan position, right? It should be, but we're living in very divided times. I think a lot of people just want to be listened to, and that can go a long way in calming tensions. And I don't come into this with any sort of radical agenda. I simply want to make sure the board stays balanced. And I don't, we're fairly new to this community. I don't think I've had any contentious, communications with anybody. We've talked a little bit online, and it's been civil. So no, I don't foresee that being an issue.
Could you describe what you believe the role of the board director is, and what can and can't you do as a director?
So, can't, right? We can't change policies that are set in Olympia. I think a lot of parents are unaware of some of those limitations. We're just supposed to be guiding the direction of the school, right? So if something was voted on and it was approved and it's gonna be in the curriculum, it's not the role of the board to say, oh, no, I don't like that, and so we're not gonna do it.
What are some of the things that board members can do to contribute to positive growth? And what are some things that they shouldn't do, things that may undermine the district?
Trying to think of how to word this. Supporting levies, educating the community about why those levies are necessary. Yeah.
Is there anything that, some things that they shouldn't do, things that may undermine the district?
Actively campaigning against a school levy could undermine the district pretty clearly in my mind. Maybe sharing information in private sessions that's not supposed to be available to the public, so be undermining the board.
What would you do if you disagree with the majority of the board? And how would you handle the public discussion afterwards?
I'm a humble person. I do not think I have all the answers. If someone sways me in the other direction, I'm more than open to that. I'm not a confrontational person. I'm not interested in, like I said, pushing a specific agenda. I don't know why I would bother to take conflict outside of the meeting.
How would your personal beliefs affect your work as a board member?
So again, this should be nonpartisan. A lot of the hot button issues are things that I don't think are in the school board's control in the first place. But it's supposed to be about doing what's best for all of the children in the district. It shouldn't be about my personal political beliefs.
As a school district, what have we done that you don't like? And what haven't we done that you'd like to see us do?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, I know it's kind of,
Feels like a little bit like a double negative.
so just do it one at a time. As a school district, what have we done that you don't like?
I don't know about your guys' plans for the future. We all know the community's growing a lot quickly. I think the Herald published a paper, an article, right around the same time we moved here 15 months ago that said it's the fastest growing city in the state. I argue it's the fastest growing hamlet in the state, but still. And that growth has to be planned for. I'm concerned about that. And then it was the second half, like a positive.
What haven't we done that you'd like to see us do?
Well, my daughter's old elementary school, the focus was entirely on social emotional learning and cultural activities. She went to Solomon Reservation. And I liked that a lot. We missed that as a family at this school. But she actually says that there's less bullying here, and again, she's just in elementary school, but she feels like even with the old school being so focused on social emotional learning, and this one having a much more academic focus, neither of which is bad, but she feels like there's actually less bullying here. I'm curious to try and figure out why. Is that maybe a poverty issue?
Are you willing to participate in trainings, regional, state, and national meetings, and other board work outside of normal meetings?
Yes, absolutely. I'm about to travel to DC again in September with one of the children's nonprofits I work for. I'm always interested in personal and professional development, and actually I just got a job with the YWCA, yay! And a requirement of my job is advocacy work, so they're very supportive of those kinds of trips as well.
Thank you.
And lastly, if you have any questions for us or anything else you'd like to add.
So you guys will make a decision tonight, and that'll be shared with Marianne and I both.
Yes, we'll go into executive session after this, have a discussion, come out and we'll have a vote in public.
Okay. When would this person begin? The very next meeting?
I think you would be sworn in the next meeting, that's the,
Okay. And is the, obviously it has nothing to do with my campaign, I understand that, which I will continue, by the way, even if you guys don't select me tonight. But would there be some kind of training, maybe through WSSDA, even though it's an interim position just for a few months? I think that would be really valuable.
there's training.
There's training.
Foster provides it.
There's a boot camp, and
Cool.
we're gonna work on some other stuff too.
How do you guys feel about the board having such a big turnover on boards?
It wasn't planned this way. Cindy's been on the board for 8 years.
Yeah.
I've been on it mostly since '97. I was gone for about a year and a half. And I was surprised. I didn't know Ed was going to run. There wasn't an effort to exodus. I think there was definitely the last few years have been difficult ones, challenging for everybody, the community, the board, teachers, and for me, I've had some health issues in the last year. It's just, I want to spend my older years chasing my grandkids around.
Yeah, fair enough. But how about for the two folks that are staying?
I think change is always good, but having worked with these guys, it's going to be hard to see them go. One, because they know lots of things that I don't know,
Yeah.
but they will share with me and Byron. But you know, it's kind of, you know, a little bit of both. Like, change is good, but then also change is hard. So, but yeah, I appreciate everything that these guys have done and all the years and years, especially for us, years and years and years of sacrifice and, you know, to serve.
A rather thankless position.
Yes.
It has its own merit. There's a lot of great things that happen while we've been on the board, and those are the things that tend to
Spending time with the kids and stuff is great. And graduation, you know, just all those kind of things that really make it great.
Should I have Marianne?
Well, you can. I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Oh, so we all have to leave
We
anyway?
all have to leave.
Okay, no problem.
Can we though make a kind of a statement about why we're doing this? Like Byron said, that it's not fair, but we have to.
Our policy and state law requires that we have to put somebody else on the board until the election. It is an awkward position because personally, I don't want to be involved in who wins. I want to make the community decide. But we have to have somebody else on the board. Like I think both interviewees mentioned, you know, we have to follow the state law and the guidelines, and we're trying to do that to a T. It is difficult, but we have to make a decision. I think we have two good candidates. We just have to figure out which one is going to get this part-time job. And it may be after 4 months you realize, God, why did I run for this thing?
You never know. We'll see.
In addition, no one else signed up to apply for the temporary position.
That is correct.
There was not a third person
Or fourth or fifth.
or fifth that was not currently running in the election that applied.
There was a third, but she was in the wrong district. That's
So
why
it just
this-
happens that you two
I
are
checked her
both
address and she
people
was in
running,
wrong
so.
district.
Can I share that all three of the candidates from my district had an opportunity to participate in a candidate forum with the League of Women Voters? I was the only one that responded. Just FYI.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I move to go into executive session.
I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks, guys. We'll try to keep it short, or everybody can wait in Richard's truck. He has air conditioning running.
It's two adults,
call the meeting back to order. I want to thank everyone for their patience this evening waiting outside. This is a challenging decision because we had two very good candidates this evening, and both of them, come election time, either of them, any one of us would be glad to work with. The back and forth discussions took a little longer than we thought. The law requires us to vote individually and in order so that everybody knows who we voted for, so I will do that. I've convinced Larry to also be involved in this because it's unfortunately one of those things we gotta do. And I'll start the vote with Byron. Who would you like to see?
I'd go for Marianne.
I chose Mary Ann as well.
I chose Marianne Easement.
I choose Mary Cameron. But I think we will work well together.
Thank everybody for that, and we look forward to the election. We don't want to be a part of choosing who gets to this point. We just want it to be a well-run, positive election, and we've made the best on it. You will be sworn in at the next meeting. I will be absent, so I will try. I might not be absent, but I'll probably be absent. I may be able to log in from remote. Moving on, we have public input, and I don't have the sign-up sheet.
Oops.
I don't know.
That was my job, sorry.
Our Kayla is not working.
Dave.
That's just one. I get three, right? Yes. Sorry, Russ.
Let's see if we can hand you the exercise. Jeff. You're up.
Thank you, Board and Superintendent, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I wanted to talk tonight about the cell phone, smartphone, social media in schools. A few things that I looked up back on August 8th, KOMO News had a story that showed more than 65% of U.S. public schools have implemented rules limiting cell phone usage as of 2019. That's from the National Center for Education Statistics, NCES. They've also more recently put out that the bans or restrictions are in place now in 76% of schools as of 2020. Earlier this year, on May 23rd, the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory to call attention to the potential dangers of social media for children and teens. The Pew Research Center found that majority of teens report using YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. YouTube is the most used at 95%, and 77% of the kids use it daily. Half of the teens also say they use TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat daily. Forgive me, I'm not used to those TikTok, tweet, Snapchat, so I might not be pronouncing them correctly. Surgeon General report shows teens spend an average of 3.5 hours a day on social media. And those who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, this applies to everyone, face double the risk of experiencing poor mental health outcomes, including symptoms of depression and anxiety. So, as adults should probably spend less time on Facebook, which the kids don't do. It's been a big decline in Facebook use amongst the youth. So myself, I think we should strengthen protections and develop appropriate health and safety standards for technology platforms. We should require a higher standard of data privacy for children and strengthen and enforce age minimums. The number of kids and teens with anxiety and depression has increased by 30% in recent years. National Institute of Health reports that 49.5% of adolescents, that's kids aged 13 to 18, had any mental disorder, and out of that group, 22.2% had severe impairment and or distress. So thank you. I see my remaining time. Oh, one last thing. I did ask them, graduated high school students, about smartphone use, and I gave them a choice between restriction or ban, and they of course chose restriction. It was the only choices. But they said smartphones can have important uses. For example, we can use our phones to upload assignments to Canvas, and it helps me focus when I listen to music while I'm doing my homework. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Richard?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Richard Kennison of Gold Bar, District 2. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm going to try to keep it under the time limit, not run through this time. The questions would be to start out with for Dan and Russ, seeing as president and chair. Does the school board, district, or for lack of a better word, state, support the discrimination of an employee candidate for elected board positions based on sex, religion, sexual orientation, color, gender identity, disability, or age?
If
We
I
don't,
understand your
right?
question, we don't, no.
No, we don't, because it's illegal, correct? Okay.
Well, it's also immoral.
Immoral, illegal, very much so. The reason I ask this is because I'm offended on behalf of our community that a standing board member supports this type of behavior and this mentality on social media in what they thought was a private, secretive group. A post was made, this board member actively promoted it, along with one of the candidates for District 4. Both of them supported this, and I wanted to bring that to your attention. I have the video, I have the pictures of this behavior, and I brought it up in front of Tim Garcham, was the executive director. He's advised me on how to proceed with this depending on how the board takes it. Does the board support board members encouraging the harassment or bullying of concerned parents through social media because they share public information with the community that they disagree with? Again, the board member from District 5 has done this on this secretive group that they pretend not to be a part of, and they have done that and directed their people to harass me, gaslight me, make a bunch of posts trying to discredit me, and then delete and block me afterwards, after we've had intelligent adult conversations, much like myself and many people here. I don't have an issue being corrected. Tell me where I'm wrong, and I'll admit I was wrong. Again, have video of that. I've talked to Tim Garchow about that, OSDA, and I've talked to OSPI on how to proceed forward after that. We do need something from the district to be done about that, because to discriminate on somebody based on religion is the same as being racist. Telling them that they can't serve on a board because they're a certain color.
Could you, I appreciate it when you look into that, but could you bring it back to something on the agenda this evening?
That was one of my main talking points, because it offended me so much, because I don't operate that way. I believe in being truthful and honest in who you are, regardless of your audience. I believe in being factual and not trying to spread misinformation, as I've said on every single thing I posted on Facebook. And that was the main point I wanted to make today. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and I'll yield my remaining time.
Angela?
I'm gonna need to respond.
My name is Angela Olson, and I live up on the Salton Basin Road. It's been 19 years on the 13th since we bought our place up there. So I reside in Salton School District. The reason I want to speak has to do with social media, and even though I do not participate in Facebook because I think that it can be used for evil, word still gets to me from other people. And there have been rumors and innuendos that one of the people running for school board is being bad-mouthed, and people are saying, we can't have this person on the school board, they're too Christian. And I'm sorry, that's not a crime. And so this whole social media thing is really a trigger point for not only the children, but the adults also. And I'm really very sorry to find out that in this school district, there are people who are against Christians. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank
I
you.
hope this rectifies itself. Thank you.
I have a question mark for Steve.
What I felt was already spoken.
Emily?
I'll just make mine real quick. This is my first time speaking, and I'm a student at Sultan Middle School. He is finally enjoying school because he has several after-school activities to participate in, and I just want to say, please continue keeping our children active and busy and off their phones and off social media. Social media is toxic. We all know this as parents, and we all have to have strength to kind of get through it. But yes, it's disturbing at times, and unfortunately our kids are very much in the mix. They know what's going on, you know, and we just need to get them off their phones and in after-school activities, participating in sports, participating in the arts. My own personal experience with the arts, I went to a performing arts high school, and it was the best thing for me. I also witnessed my friends just excel because they had confidence. They were able to excel academically and go on to great schools, UCLA, UC Berkeley, thanks to after-school programs. And that's what I like to say. Thank you for the school district for providing those after-school programs. Let's keep it up. And keep our kids off phones.
I have no one else chosen to speak this evening, and you would like to.
I would like to speak. I would like to, Richard didn't name me by name, but I am the person that Richard is alluding to with his comments. Number one, there is no secret group on Facebook. It's called Left of Sultan. There's nothing secret about it. I've never denied being on any Facebook group. Number two, what really bothers me is the accusation that I would ever discriminate against somebody. I don't care if you are Christian, Muslim, whatever you are, but if you want to bring spirituality into our schools, it doesn't belong here. Don't care what you believe, those beliefs stay outside. Inside of school, you don't bring our religion into school. Nope.
You support
You don't
the
get
post
to,
and
no,
you
you don't
liked
get
it
to
and
talk
you
about,
reacted to
nope.
it. It addresses the
You
concerns of
have-
another community member here that heard the exact same thing. He does
Point
it
of
for
order.
social
Yes,
media.
we're not going to get into it
No.
back and forth.
And I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this because it's not worth my time. But I will say, I've never discriminated against anyone. But religion does not belong in our schools, and I will stand by that. Stand by that. You have a problem with me because I call you on your lies and your slander that you've done against multiple board members. I don't appreciate a former board member passing his vendetta on down to community members. As I think it was Mike Cornell said, you pitched your wagon to the wrong person.
The information I got was from OSPI, not Ed.
No.
So you can say whatever you
Social
like.
media
Matter of
is
fact,
bad.
correct me
You
if
know,
I'm
we
wrong.
talk about our kids being on social media and how we don't want them to bully people and we don't want them to belittle or berate or lie. But when those kids see their parents doing that, that's the example that they're gonna get. So we need to start at home and we need to be better people, and that's all of us. And not just you, I need to be better too. But I'm not gonna sit back and let people lie about board members, lie about what the board does, lie about what our goals and our mission is. I'm gonna call it out. So,
I
you know,
will continue providing facts and information and the video showing that
Let's
you did
end
exactly
it.
that.
That's
That's
it
it.
right there.
so. thank
I
you
will
very
say,
much.
I will say
Your time.
that I've known Gigi for 2 years, and she knows that I'm a Christian. I make a lot of decisions based on my beliefs. And if you read in what I read in the Bible, it says that we're supposed to help everyone. Everyone's our neighbor. And and that's the way I used that. But there is a series of laws that we cannot have religion taught in schools, and that's where the separation has to occur. Now we'll move on to, let's get through some work here that we really need to get through this evening. This discussion is pertaining to cell phone, social media in schools. Dan has presented the board with a lot of information, including some that Jeff references.
I need to make one addition to the agenda.
Please.
Because of the transition, we need to have Dan Ballard address the need for budget extension.
Okay.
Okay, and that has to do with so go ahead, Dan.
All right, directors, yes, just need to make you aware that just came to realization that as far as our approved expenditure authority in our 22-23 current fiscal year, we are getting close as far as our expenditure authority in the general fund. Obviously, we have just 1 month left to go. We do have payroll this month and then some additional bills. And a natural question might be, well, you know, how might that have happened? I want to just kind of make people aware of a few significant events that were unanticipated or unbudgeted for that took place this year. Now, just a point of clarification, a budget is an ability to expend. It has nothing to correlation with the amount of dollars that you have in your bank account, but it's a cap as far as how much you can spend. But some additional expenditures that we undertook this year because primarily of grant awards. Dave was a lucky recipient of getting a grant, what's called a digital equity grant. That grant was given to us after our budget went to the board's approval last year. And that was $94,000 was able to fund an additional tech position in his department. Under that digital equity grant, also later in the year, there was an additional $50,000 reallocation that Dave used for purchase of some either iPads or laptops. Again, unanticipated expenditure. We had a significant storm event over Christmas break at Gold Bar, which was about $200,000 in expenditures in remediation to fix damage that caused there. Obviously unanticipated, unbudgeted for. Grants, we've been fortunate enough to get some additional state grants, miscellaneous state grants, about $50,000 more than what we had originally anticipated. So those are just some of the larger ones. There are others. But because of those things and others, we are just getting low on capacity. So what I would like to ask is I did submit today, and I do apologize in doing this before I had a chance to talk with you, but because of the requirement of having to advertise in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks prior to a budget extension being approved, there will be a ad running in the paper in the Everett Herald. The cutoff was today at 3 o'clock. It will be published on Wednesday and the following Wednesday, and I would like to ask the board convene on Wednesday the 30th of August to approve that extension request. And as long as that is done,
It's a special meeting on the 30th.
Special meeting on the 30th, and I do apologize for calling you in, but
This has no impact on the amount of money we have. This is just
right, no,
authority
this is just authority to spend. is all
Okay,
this is.
so I need to find out the board
I'm good
members.
with that.
You'll be here? I'm still out of town.
Oh, yeah,
So
I'll
I'm
be here.
skipping out on meetings like this.
It's a Wednesday, Wednesday the 30th.
Yes,
As long as there's 3 of us.
and it'll be very brief.
And you'll have a new board member soon.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll- okay.
Thank you.
Because it wasn't on the agenda, no one had an opportunity to comment on this. Anybody have a question? Once, twice, fair enough.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Wednesday, the 30th at 7 PM, a budget extension meeting here at this location.
7, it was advertised as 7 o'clock.
7.
7, I thought you said 7.
All right. Now, study session discussion of cell phone and social media. Dan has presented us with a good packet. Some of that information was alluded to by Jeff. Some of the studies in there. Please.
I'll just give you a little background. The discussion of cell phone use, restrictions, etc. in classrooms is not a new one. I think I put in the agenda cover page that, I think it was March 9th, 2020, we had scheduled for our next board meeting to put in place, because we had discussed it as a board, and me as the secretary on multiple occasions. March 13th, we closed due to COVID, and so that was all out the window. In the time since, we've had policy and procedure in place, but I would call them permissive, meaning you can walk into different classrooms and it was kind of up to the classroom teacher to decide what part was used with learning and how that was how that was, the orientation of that was really decided at the classroom level, and that's caused additional issues with learning, as we all know. This year, as part of a mental health campaign, we subscribed to a group called the parentguidance.org. It's a monthly meeting that talks about mental health, and one of the reasons that they talk about regarding student anxiety, student mental health issues, is parents will email into this psychologist and talk about what is happening with their students. The number one thing that's coming up is student anxiety, depression, different things. And they've tied it back to screen time. And the screen time, we can't control what's happening outside of the classroom, but we can control what's happening in our schools. And so the purpose of tonight is to bring forward and engage in a discussion. We have both the principal, Serena Whitmire-Skeeth, assistant principal at high school, Laura Green, principal Brett Chappell, Kim, and I'm sorry I forgot your last name. Gilman. At Sultan Middle School, so that when we enter school here starting in about a month, a little less than a month, we're on the same page. And we know where it's going to be permissive and where it's not. And so I've got a draft policy there. At the end of the discussion, I would like to ask the board to direct us, me, to put in some procedures of how we want to handle this. Will cell phones be allowed at all for emergencies? One of the things we've heard loud and clear from parents over time is they want their kids to have cell phones. What they've also said to us is that they don't have to be on all the time. They just want them available for emergency. And I think that is something that we need to be able to understand. And so, in looking at what other school districts are doing, I've included a number of different resources. I hope you had a chance to look at it, because there's, Jeff brought up a lot of good points, very accurate. You could find them in any number of different stories. You could go in and Google cell phone impact on classroom learning, and you can find a whole body of research that shows it is impacting classroom learning. And I would say in our case, it is impacting classroom learning. And that's where we've got to get on the same page as far as what is permissible and what is not. Because there, as I go to do classroom visits, it is different depending on the classroom. Some, look at it very rigidly and don't allow use. Others use it as an academic tool. Kids end up playing with teachers against each other, and it becomes a big problem. And so one of the recommendations I'm going to make is that cell phone use in the classroom can only happen by the authority of the principal. And this would also go for the adults in the school too. They wouldn't have access to their cell phones as well. We certainly have emergency use, but if we're going to have kids sitting in classrooms working and teachers, say a video is going on or something, teachers should not be on cell phone. So that's kind of the precursor to the discussion. I talked to Dave Moon, who is our technology director, and tonight is sitting in for Kayla, who's gone for a couple days. Her anniversary and birthday are today. So happy birthday, happy anniversary to Kayla. So Dave, I've asked him to talk a little bit about some of our learning standards, some of the things that we do. We've got Brianne Lewis here as well that may answer some questions. I'll let Dave go ahead and dive into it, and then let's jump into a conversation.
Hi. So we do follow the OSPI, Educational Technology Learning Standards. You guys saw that with the new board. I want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that we put in place to help parents and help people do some of the social media on campus. We do block all social media up until high school from 9 to 12. I think the only social media we allow is Facebook. And back in the day, I remember there was a specific reason for that. I think a lot of the clubs and sports were using Facebook as their communication. And it's just never been readdressed since we tried that.
Do we have the ability to develop a platform in our district that would allow them to engage in club activity without it being?
Absolutely, we have Canvas. Yeah. And we've been talking about that a lot since I was asked to research this one.
And Scott has actually set up courses for each athletic team at the high school that the coaches use.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of direction to shut it off.
How do we shut it off when we have, I could get on without Wi-Fi?
We can't. We just shut it down access from
I don't.
inside.
So we can not allow them to get on our network. If they have a phone, we can't mess with their phone. Or scramble.
That's correct. And their device, our district issued devices, our block follows them no matter what. We use common sense media for our digital citizenship curriculum. All staff has access to this Nearpod library that we purchased with lessons and activities that can be modified and used. This is part of the expected instruction during tech specialist time at our elementaries. And the expectation is that the secondary work in it. It's part of their digital citizenship, it's part of their daily life in the classroom. 3 has practical experience versus my experience of coming up with those. So if you have any questions about that specifically, probably the questions are recently, we've partnered with our filtering company, Linewise, to allow parents to have insight at everything their kids are doing on a school district device. We just rolled it out a couple of weeks ago. Kennison actually helped test drive it a little bit. He liked what the input was on it. It was pretty good, I guess. It also allows parents to add personal devices to this as well. They can add 2 more devices for free. After 2 devices, it's like $10 a year for a third for the 5th device. So it can be the kids' personal cell phones. Parents can control on and off time, screen time. They can control how they filter, if they choose to filter, or they can just go back and choose to look at things. Now, full disclosure, I was a smart kid. I know plenty of smart kids. I know there's plenty of ways around all of this stuff. Brianne Loomis, which is amazing, our technology integration specialist, offers staff training tied to the ISTE standards, teaches classroom lessons, primarily 5th grade, curates digital citizenship curriculum for staff, and has offered to coordinate parent learning opportunities, creates and provides resources to buildings and families. We've put it out there. I know we've done some stuff with families. You know, honestly, it's been kind of low turnout whenever we do stuff like that. It's kind of the usual players that come to play. I'm always available if a parent has a problem or a question or an issue. I put myself out there. They can call me. We work together. We have, I don't know, probably a couple dozen custom filters for some kids that just need a few more bumpers in life. And happy to do that with them. I thought this was kind of cool. Spencer Reed, our Gold Bar Tech specialist, participated in SPI's digital citizenship cohort last year. He and Heather may be able to speak more about this. So if you have any questions about that, maybe we could get him in and talk about how it's orders. This is really cool. Last year, SHS and SMS came together and brought in the White Hatter. If you guys haven't seen that or seen some of his YouTube stuff, he's amazing. He talks about mostly internet safety, but common sense internet safety. I mean, things that kids don't even realize they're doing what they're doing. It's just kind of crazy. Technology, we paid for the White Hatter follow-up with parents, a couple nights with parents, and that was all over Zoom. And Reed, do you remember what our participation rate was for parents?
0 in person, and Sarita maybe 60 watched the recording.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
So
that's
we
good.
had
Yeah.
great, like, the follow-up piece, and Sarita had a great document that we were able to share out afterwards, like 7 pages of the bullet points. And a lot of that did cover more of the safety of the social media side specifically. So not just the academic piece that the ed tech standards cover, but actually that safety piece that we're talking about. The White Hatter did a great job, and the live session took parent questions and things too. So there was an opportunity for some engagement.
I enjoy the White Hatter. I wouldn't mind seeing it for regular. You know, there maybe every couple of years we bring them in to discuss. I even had some oh my moments in it. Some of the kids were in my department as my TAs while we were watching it, and they even had some of my moments. Let's see. Of course, our student handbook has the acceptable use policies inside of it. We expect the parents to sign those agreements. Students sign them too.
Actually, if they don't sign it, they're free to,
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
agree to that.
Yeah, that's right. So it's opt out, correct.
Except in 5th grade when they get devices. So 5th grade is the first year they get take-home devices. And they get take-home devices 5th grade through 12th grade. We actually make sure we get a signed copy from the student and the family to really make sure that they're understanding that, or saying that they read and had access to some of this information.
Yep, and new families, we have them signed as well. Attach it to their power school, it's always there. Aubrey Van Orden, the principal here, Brett Chappell, attended the ITSE 2023 conference and attended sessions surrounding the ITSE standards in K-12. And I'm throwing you under the bus, maybe you'll be able to speak a lot more about that. Thanks, Brian.
The main function, it was a great opportunity, I can express that on some other as well. It was a great opportunity given to us to learn a little bit more about technology and use in the classroom and what's coming. They may be heard of AI, it's here, it's been here for a while, and we're just getting slapped. So it kind of helped prepare admin and teachers that went as well ambassadors.
Teacher leaders.
Teacher leaders. And we were able to have good discussions, good learning opportunities of what's out there to help. Just made a difference. The opportunities there for our kids with the budget is there to help provide those opportunities. There's many free opportunities out there as well for their a lot of technology, which I know Audrey and I had discussions.
Speak up just a little louder.
Sorry, I know Principal Aubrey Van Orden and I had quite a few discussions there because we entertained a lot of the same classes. Because we saw a high interest in different quick tools that our teachers could use inside the classrooms to help them provide a lot of information for our students. And some of those things will be, I know I'll be presenting some of those in our in-service back to school for our teachers. I know that Aubrey will as well.
All right, not bad. And then finally, we also sent Mike Marins here, okay, totally throwing him under the bus as well, to attend the NCC 2023 conference. And I know he has some offerings to bring back as well into this conversation. And
Part of that is to just show, we're trying to build capacity, try to make sure our administrators are informed of what's going on. As you all are seeing, technology evolves rather quickly, so making sure that our admin are kept up to date, our teacher leaders who bring it back to the classroom and to their fellow colleagues are kept up to date. So we're really making a group effort, in large part from the levy, but also the digital equity and inclusion grant that we received. We're trying to make sure that we are staying informed and bringing opportunities back for our students so that we are able to support them as best we can.
Bree's really on top of it, you know, she makes me work good, she gives me most of these bullet points, so to be perfectly honest. Some things that you should consider. We used to have the media literacy and digital citizenship curriculum taught by our librarians, and that library class has kind of gone away, so the expectation is to fall into the regular classrooms or some other specialists. I think we should define that clearly on who gets that. I heard it come up already. I think we need an AI policy. It's not as evil as everybody thinks. I've been doing a lot of classes on AI recently, and you're going to see my workload or my work outcome look amazing. I'm sure thanks to AI. And then we really need to discuss the scope and sequence for our digital citizenship needs, and I think it needs to be district directed. Because right now it's been get to it if you can get to it. These are great tools. Use these tools. Integrate these tools. But we haven't said this is how, this is where, this is where. Type stuff. And now I'm looking for questions. But I'll probably ask for.
I have a question, more of a comment in researching and studying this. To me, it seems like we're combining some things that can be separated out for simplicity. The first is building a policy that parents and staff can work with that eliminates the cell phone from being an impedance to learning, so that it's away, but available in the event that there's an emergency. That, to me, is a policy that can be simple, and the procedure can get a little challenging, but that, and then the second one is how we utilize all these AI and all of the media and all of these things. if we continue to try to put them all in one big blanket, I think that policy is, and procedure is gigantic, enormous, and we can't get to the first goal that I would think would be, can we get a policy and some procedures that you could vote on first reading at your next meeting and possibly add it to the 30th as an approval for a simplified cell phone policy so that we can use it as the school year starts.
Recommended policies attached.
Yes.
And that is limited to cell phones.
Right.
Hard to have the discussion without branching out a
I know.
little bit.
It gets into the weeds because there is so much to it.
What I refer to here in this policy is cell phones, smartwatches, non-medical listening devices, and headsets. Anything that we can communicate with. And so what we would want to accompany this would be a set of procedures. And so I invited the principals, and in defense of Kim and Laura, excuse me, they're brand new here. They have been in other school districts, but I want you to have a chance to ask them some questions about their experience with cell phones and, just kind of talk about some of the difficulty and the challenges. Because like I said, up to this point, we've been fairly permissive. Some classrooms are very rigid and tight, others not as much. Cell phones, social media use, screen time, impacting learning big time, and it's impacting the mental health of kids.
Well, and you put it in our packet, but for those who haven't read our packet, literally a week or two before COVID broke out, we were to have a meeting where we were going to enact changes to our cell phone policy. That, for obvious reasons, got destroyed and pushed off till now. I would like to hear, I think I know a lot of the challenges living with the teacher. I've heard a few of them. But more so than that is how we do it. What does the board need to do to give you the tools so that you can administer a building where cell phones are supposed to be out of sight except at lunches and before and after school? I'll pose that to you, Sarita, I guess.
Well, I think just having clear, direct, we did it, you had shall not. Well, it's like may or may not, So we need to be a bit more direct with this. You will not do this.
Right.
So when we tell a student, board policy says you will not do this, and if we have a student that refuses, then we have backup behind that. That's one of the biggest things that we deal with is that we have teachers that are trying to abide by what we have put in place, saying no cell phones in the classroom or whatnot. And they'll ask a kid, put away your cell phone, put away your cell phone. And the kid refuses. Okay, give me your cell phone. You did it at the end of the class. Student refuses. They send to the office. Admin asks whether you have your phone. Student refuses. We call parents, and parents are like, you can't take my kid's cell phone away. So, so those are things we're dealing with. And then you have teachers that are constantly giving your cell phone. And then the teacher gets tested or it's brutal. And so they're just like, I'm done with that. I'm not fighting this anymore. I'm just going to teach the kids that want to learn to be there to teach. As long as, the other students that's on their phone is not causing any distraction, then that happens.
But we owe it to every student to give them the
clearly,
best
we have to take a
education.
different
Right.
approach.
We do.
And that, we have the ability to tell a student they can't wear a certain shirt and make them go home and change or turn the shirt inside out. We have the ability to stop them from bringing guns and knives to school. And the cell phone, it isn't a gun or knife, I'm not saying that, but it's disruptive to learning. And anything that's disruptive to learning should be something that all parents understand that they would want to be taken away. And I challenge any parent that doesn't believe that having a cell phone in the backpack or in their pocket available for emergencies at all time is taken away from their learning abilities. I don't do social media rarely. I look and see what my girls are doing, and I have a full life. I don't need to be on there all of the time. And I use a cell phone every day for work. And we hoped when we adopted the policies we have now, honestly, that the adults would make certain that the children learn proper utilization of that tool. We failed in many of those areas. Some teachers have it, some teachers have failed, and they know who they are if they're allowing it rampant in their class instead of staying on task. But we want to be able to write a policy that you can enforce, and when it's board policy, the parents understand board policy is board policy, and their student will be sent home. And I can't imagine a parent arguing that it's better to send my student away from school. That's better than not having a cell phone and going to the class and listening to the educator. So we'll have that battle. I probably won't be on the board, and likely, unless it's a quick battle soon. But that's a battle that I think the board is willing to deal with from our discussions. We don't believe in banning cell phones because there's emergencies that have occurred across the country where, as a parent, I would vote to keep cell phones in my child's pocket.
I would vote that they don't even have it on their persons. They keep it in their backpacks. Because what happens is kids don't want to use the restroom. They go off to the restroom and they send out their messages or whatnot. And
Well,
those
that's
kind
what
of
we need for,
things.
that's procedure, and that's what we really need to hear from staff because
Do you think you're gonna be able to get buy-in from all the teachers? Because there are some that let the kids use them in class or some that don't. Like, to get everybody on the same page, we have to have everybody on the same page.
I can tell you at the middle school, yes, because that's one of the things that the teachers brought to me at the end of last year is we need to be on the same page, and cell phones is one of those things that needs to go. And it's in policy, it's in our handbook, but it was chosen to be enforced or not. And some of the teachers were loose on it, some were tight. So that's one thing that is a focus for us.
And I think the policy that we're thinking about and the procedures would allow a teacher that, there are good things on YouTube, and there's a lot of crap on Facebook and X and all these other things. But if a teacher has a lesson plan that says we need to watch this video, they can go to the principal in our inferred policy and procedure and say, look, on Wednesday, we're gonna watch this video. We can allow a video through the technology, right, Dave? Some videos.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they aren't gonna lose the ability. So I would personally love to have the discussion with a teacher that says, I just want open reign, I can do this. I think a reprogramming of their thinking is in order.
Well, I think a lot of it too is just, we are one-to-one, and so encouraging the students to bring their laptops and use those laptops, because sometimes kids don't bring it, and so they utilize their phones, and so sometimes they're doing, the little quizzes and stuff, and you take your phone out and take a picture of it and stuff, and send it, so they do use that as devices and things. We also have, students that, written in their IEPs or whatnot, they're allowed to use their cell phones to take pictures of, notes and those kind of things, or they're allowed to use their phones to listen to music. So I think maybe we look at some of those IEPs and rewrite those that they're allowed to utilize music using their laptop with headphones and not necessarily a cell phone type. So it's just some of those things that we really need to look at broadly.
I would think it'd be as restrictive as we can be that doesn't hinder education of any student.
Right.
I've talked enough. Others?
I completely agree with that.
You know, in some ways, I'm almost feeling some guilt that it's taken us this long to get to this. But not that we haven't had the discussion, not that it's there, but I think it's become crystal clear that things didn't improve over the pandemic, they got worse. And both on the mental health stage and the learning stage, it's an interruption. And we need to get kids to engage again with one another and in learning. And it'll be pretty restrictive as far as what permissions people are allowed to do, because the minute something happens and there's a breakdown, you start to work people against each other. Kim, you had a question?
Yeah, I just, this is my first year in this district, but in my former district, we had an off and away policy, and it extended not just to the classrooms, but at lunchtime too. And I just like to put my little vote in there for us to extend it to lunchtime too, at least at the middle school level. We saw a huge improvement. Last year was the first year that we were really strict about off and away policy and keeping phones away if we saw them out at all, unless they have permission for a very specific reason. But lunchtime, kids were interacting, they were talking to each other, they were playing games out on the field together, they were making real social connection that we hadn't seen since COVID. And I think in large part that was because they were being forced out of their social media world and back into the real world all day long. And so from the moment they stepped onto campus until they left the building at the end of the day, it was supposed to be off and away. It could be in their backpack, so they had it for emergencies, but it was not to be seen out at all. And instead, especially from the gym, it was. So, and I think it worked really well. Our teachers were supportive and our parents ended up really supportive of it. And so that's just my little plug for even lunchtime is a great learning opportunity for our students of how to engage with technology.
Thank you for that input. I like that, and I like what Emily said about having more things for kids to be engaged, clubs and sport. My kids were in sports and music and all these things, and social media wasn't really coming onto what it is now. Texting, I was still trying to learn to text when they were in school, but it's become an animal that we're having to deal with, and the onus is first on the parents because they have to support this and encourage them to do that. I like the idea of middle school. Maybe we figure out when a cutoff is. I don't think 6th, 7th, and 8th graders really need to be too engaged with the outside world and how many clicks they get. Any other questions or comments?
I think too, we need this white hatter guy, whatever, kind of explain some of the dangers of it, but also make them realize that we're not taking them away to be mean. We're taking them away to help them. I think making sure they understand that it's not a punishment. I know when I was a kid, you're going to punish me for something. Well, I'm going to find a way to do it. But I think we educate them and say, hey, look, this is for you. We're doing this, and this is why, the reasons why. And instead of just like, we just don't want you on. If somebody tells me I don't want you on your phone, I'm going to have it out. Just really. So I think it would be important to make sure that they know, like, hey, these are the reasons why, not just give me that. I was that kid that would be like, well, really? So I think if instead of just going, well, because I said, I think we need to treat them more as adults and give them those reasons and say, these are the reasons and this is how it's going to be. I think that would go a long ways. It would with me as a teenager.
I think we should offer some tools for our parents because I think that first starts at home. Hey, look, we believe that this is important so that you get the education. There's plenty of things to get in your way of learning when you're in school, regardless of social media. If we get the parents buying in and we're buying in, I think we have a lot better chance of succeeding and helping more kids achieve at a level.
How many people here, if your boss said, I don't want you to use your phone during work hours, will say, okay, you can do it anyway?
Yeah. The unemployed ones.
Seriously.
Soon to be.
Seriously.
Yeah. No,
Kids need to learn.
It is.
There's time for everything.
And when we enacted the policy we have now, honestly, sir, we thought that kids are going to be using, I use my phone all day long in my career. And I've learned to not have it on during school board meetings with rare exceptions. And we thought we could teach them that. Well, we were wrong. And so we just found out tonight somewhere around 70% of schools have found out they're wrong and they've made changes to that policy. So the learning curve for our children is going to be a little different than we had aspired to at that time. And some kids were fine, and some teachers, I applaud the teachers that have done it the way that we implied that we do it. And I understand the teachers that haven't. We live in a world full of social media, but you're right. Direction from the board, is there any objection to moving forward with a policy that limits cell phones and the discussion point can be completely in the middle school level? Is it one thing we can discuss, where they're kept in the backpacks and some allowance at middle of the day for lunch break for high school students?
I'm good with that. I don't know that you would get away with off and away at the high school level during lunch, but it would be great if they would spend that time with each other, but I don't see that happening.
Well, I look at it, there are reasons, not social media reasons, but familial reasons where a check-in in the middle of the day. These kids have jobs, their parents have one or two jobs, maybe they're riding or driving with somebody, and being able to check in, ask a question or answer a question, and then at the end of the day, okay, well, I know what I'm doing. I think
You also have the kids that don't normally talk to other kids, and that's kind of their security blanket is their phone if they want to kind of sit in the corner. Yeah, it'd be great if they go and talk to everybody else, but they're not going to, so taking that away from them might be...
it might help though if they're not on it all day.
Yeah.
They might find, I actually like that discussion in chemistry class or whatever, and join a chemistry club. I know I'm dreaming, but I'm hoping.
I think important too, like the teachers and the staff knowing that we back you up and that we stand with you, and there are, we're gonna be there for you guys to help enforce it, and you're not just on your own.
And we'll be,
That's critical.
and
Yeah, it has to be.
we're gonna hold the superintendent accountable to hold the administration accountable to always act. There's 3 minutes left at the end of the day and a kid has his phone out. That's against the rules. And that kid has to go through step 1, whatever that is. Take your phone away.
Off and away.
Off and
It's
away.
got a nice slogan, off and away.
Yes. And I know how difficult that is because it's a hassle. It's 3 minutes. And nobody up above me is going to back me up. But I think that a good group of people in our community would love to see this happen.
Hey Russ, a quick comment. I just want to make sure that we emphasize, it's not the tool, it's the social media, certain social media that's bad.
And they're not focusing on what's in the class.
And I was just reading through my notes here. This is 2016 data, but this is the School Survey on Crime and Safety, SSOCS. Schools that did not allow their students to use cell phones had a reportedly higher rate of daily and weekly cyberbullying, 16.4% of schools, than did schools that allowed cell phone use. So I thought that was kind of an interesting stat. So I don't know if that means they're so pent up that they figure out a way to use it and they're not being watched, or students that school bell goes off, that they get on it. But I think the gist of it is it's not so much the tool, it's these certain types of social media. That's what we need to educate.
And it's 2 things. During school, it's anything that takes your attention away from the educational program and report. After school, it's all of it. And probably that's in that packet we have to give parents that says, look, you need to be looking out for this. They're not going to have the screen time. And we've all seen the videos on, if you go to YouTube and look at the teacher that took away a game system and she got put in the hospital by a student. So there's close to an addiction to these devices, and I'm not a psychologist or a doctor, but it seems to be addictive.
Yeah, that's one of the big components with these companies is they want to keep you, it's time on page. So they're keeping our kids on these various platforms, but, it's obviously not working. So they don't, I know that the executives, the tech executives, don't allow their children to be on social media. So what does that tell you? They know how poisonous it is.
Right.
So hopefully we can educate other parents and letting them know that this is really a business.
Well, and that's up to everybody in the room. Us, you guys, we really do need to come together as a community because our kids deserve, honestly, we'll just put them in front of the screen and say, whatever, yes, they have a belief that it'll be fine. We all got through growing up, but there's no way you can learn when you're on your phone, checking text, social media, all of these things. Policy, that's policy, but the procedure is what you asked us to engage in.
Yeah, so just to kind of recapture the dates, so everybody's aware, 28th is our regular business meeting of the month. We've scheduled a meeting for the 30th, so that will give a chance to do a first and second read. I will work with the administration, and Emily, I don't know if you would want to join us as a parent representative, that would be great. And some staff to set up some procedures for how this goes into play. At the elementary, it's not currently an issue. So what we do there is going to be different. Middle school, current. But I do like the idea of the off and away. I think that's, that is a kind of a good way to put it. And it's going to be a challenge for us to re-engage kids with this massive situation that's in the way of, it's impacting learning and mental health big time. And we're seeing the impact of it.
We can do it 76, whatever the number, 60, 70% of schools have done it, and we can certainly do it.
Thank you, Ms. Sarita, for pointing out that we need to be changing the verbiage in the policies that we make so that we're not hindering them from enforcing them.
It needs to be absolute policy,
And
as
I'll
opposed
put-
to gray area policy. Gray area is for if a child brings in a G.I. Joe plastic gun, the administrator can say, they aren't suspended because that's not a real gun. I like that kind of gray area where an administrator can make a call, but this is not gray area stuff.
So Laura, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you and I were having a conversation before the meeting. Can you just share what you said to me? Do you remember about what you were telling some of the parents?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, the school district that I was at, it was a wait for the day. So kids had to keep their phones in their backpacks, close it up. And we really had to educate the parents on why we're doing it and who they were thinking about. But the one thing that we really picked up the parents with, if you do give your child a drug that would make them depressed, that would make them, disengage in life, would you give them that drug? And I was reading an article about that, and that really hit me as and the parents were like, oh, this can be like a drug, it's an addiction. So getting that back to the families and letting them know there is an addiction component to this, and we really do need support the kids. That it's not against them, it's just for them.
Right, thank you. And you had your hand up to speak.
I did, just to think about, so any of the exceptions for self-evident usage, for IEPs or learning abilities, those adaptations can be good for all the students' body. So if it's like recording a lecture or providing PowerPoints or whatever that exception is that they need to take a photo of, perhaps maybe in the classroom, just thinking about it, if it's good for one student, might be good for all, to reduce the number of exceptions for one student to have an exception.
The nice thing about the new about the laptops, students are able to take pictures using those laptops. So again, utilizing the laptops, that's why we have them. So there's not a need for.
And we also have the ability with Canvas and everything the picture could already be in the data set that the teacher can give to the student.
It could be.
Our teachers do that a lot at the middle school.
It's a learning curve. It's going to be a learning curve for everybody.
So if there's a need for something, the teacher is posted right there, so everybody.
And the teacher, there are going to be some pushback on some of this, but the teachers that push back, I think once they see that the kids are excited and engaged instead of the hoodies over their head, the earphones are in their head, they're on their phone, I know which job I would rather have. You actually feel like you're actually doing what you're trained to do. You included a discipline continuum of discipline responses in our packet. Is that your recommending? Packet page 21.
Oh, this just shows you, we would add this too. I think that when I had asked Serena and Brett and Laura and Kim to kind of take a look at this, we used to have a continuum like this in place.
Right.
And when OSPI changed some of the rules, that kind of went by the wayside. And we need to put this back in place, so it's clear to everybody.
From the procedure standpoint, this is great, but it needs to be no gray area so that we can always back up what the policy said. And I can see in this, there could be some gray area. Well, are you really doing this? What is implements best practices and strategies that invite the student to share their perspective and explanation regarding the behavioral violation? I understand what it's saying, but does it need to be that?
And that may be where I think where we get into some discrepancy and some challenges is if we have some kind of flow chart that says this will happen exactly if it's this, which is not black and white.
Right.
And so for this example, I'm just looking at page 3, range of potential responses based on conditions, limitations, and stuff. I can remember times back prior to when OSPI wanted us to not have this in place, where I would, be meeting with a parent that was upset about something, or made it all the way through the appeal process, and I would say, look, this is based on your judgment, this is in a range that was appropriate, that kind of thing. And so I think that's probably, to answer your question more clearly, you're saying you want it more black and white.
I do, and I think...
So so the student discipline matrix is a guidance, not only for administrators, but a guidance, so parents, because we hear, what happened, So parents want to know what happened. Well, this way, now parents and even teachers, students can look at it and say, oh, so if I do this, these are the things that can happen based on what OSPI is telling us. Again, these are recommended, this is a guideline based on the laws, the discipline laws from OSPI.
Right. This isn't what I was pertaining to. I was before these pages when we have this student discipline continuum of discipline responses.
Oh, yeah. That's what goes with the.
That goes with the levels A through C. So that's what that means. So that's why that is added. So when you see levels A through C, now you know that's what you refer to.
What this allows, though, is 6 students do the same thing and 6 different results because it says
we have to do that based on law. Because every student we have to look at differently, because every student comes from a different hole, every student comes with, so we have to look at global when we're making discipline decisions, based on OSPI law.
Paul can talk about that too, 'cause that's one thing we talked about, like you can't.
It has to be this vague to meet legal description.
That's one of the requirements, is to have that interventions, you have to do an intervention before certain discipline can happen. Like you can't suspend like your student and say, there's a fight, it's automatic 3-day out of school suspension. You can't do that anymore. You have to look at what are the interventions that are done before that. And it goes the same around flexibility in the continuum, because OSPI looks at us an equity issue. So from every student, they have a different.
This builds an inequity based on the engagement of the rule. Lobby and Olympic.
Yes and no.
It's just.
Yes, which is why we've struggled with the different things, because we have to look at every student, every situation different. So when we have a fight at the high school, not every student gets the same thing. We had to look at individuals, how they were involved, what was happening, and then.
I see that because we don't know who started the fight. But if you have a cell phone out and the rule says cell phone can't be out, I can see we have one of 2 things, but it makes it very difficult to do your job because I could accuse you of treating my child differently.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, and we need to make it as restrictive as OSPI's crazy rules will allow. It's just my take. Go ahead.
I was gonna say with the levels of A, B, C, and that's just like just for when you're doing the training, how do I approach that child in the situation? Because every situation is different.
Sure.
So that's more of how as a teacher do I intervene and give the child a redirection before we get to consequences that
Okay.
can be opposite. So it's preventative.
So can the consequence be the same? You don't get your phone for the rest of the day, or do we have some kids that get it back after one period?
No,
or-
so for example, so inappropriate use of electronic devices. So we can state that every single, if you have your cell phone out, it goes away. But then if I have a student that's refusing to that now that goes to a different level. Because now it's refusal.
Right.
Now we're not looking at behavior based on you had your cell phone out. Now we're looking on behavior based on, and then if I have a student that takes it a second level or a different level and starts cussing and all that stuff, then we start, so that's kind of some of those things that you start looking at.
Make it as easy to enforce fairly for everyone, and the result should be the same for, I don't think
I don't
a
know what
student,
talking when you guys are also
if you use
part
your
of
phone
that.
number and you're not supposed to, it should be the same penalty.
Russ, on the intervention in this particular discussion on the phone, and the discussion of these are the expectations, we have a law students who put them over that, and this is what's going to happen. Teacher will tell you to put it away, and then it can escalate.
Maybe I'm making too much out of this, but I really do want to make it as rock solid that we aren't going to allow phones out in the classroom because our kids deserve us to be those people that do that. And if I'm understanding that we will talk to children differently, but in the end, he had a cell phone out, she had her cell phone out, they don't get it for the rest of the day. I can live with all of the soft stuff because we do want to engage children in different ways that way, I guess.
Yeah, and I think just to clarify a little further, I think our policy, our stated policy with the kids is often a way, if I see it out, I might give you a reminder if I haven't before, but otherwise, if I see it, I'm taking it. The second time, you're picking it up, or they can pick it up first time in the office,
Yep.
second time, parent has to pick it up. This is more of like an overall, as administrators, when we have to have some consequences for any of the things that we're dealing with, the kids are doing that aren't following the policies, this is not the kid policy. Kid policy is gonna say very
Okay.
clearly, the policy's off and away, this is what happens if you don't follow that policy. But this is like our big matrix, so we have lots of different situations going on. How do we make sure that we're dealing with all the things that are going on?
Make sure we're following the laws. So if somebody comes back and wants to sue the district and we did something outside of the law, then we're in trouble.
I'm not encouraging us to break laws, but I would ask that we consider lobbying OSPI to give us more ability to do what we're supposed to be doing instead of taking it and tying our hands.
Yeah, both women are committed to that, you're right, but from an elementary principals have expressed to move it down to the elementary, primarily, not so much the social media thing, but students have those watches.
Oh, yeah.
And they're calling their parents on the playground, parents are suddenly showing up, and nobody knows why, other than the student's upset about something, or not feeling well, or things like that, so they would like some support around that as well.
So, do you want to look at the administration, come up with the procedures that we'll be looking at in the coming week?
So we'll bring you policy, procedure, first reading, 28th, second reading, 30th.
And Gigi, I won't be able to be available for the 20th, but I will read and I'll relay what I think to
Yeah,
you.
just your comments and I can share them.
Okay. Anything else?
The executive session, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, we need to do the voting delegate for the.
Oh, that's right, thank you. I meant anything else on this subject? Appointment of voting delegates for Wausau's General Assembly. Is there anyone that would like to do this job?
I'm probably the only one that's gonna go, so I'm assuming it'll be me. It's just, they have a packet, and then I can forward it out to everybody, and then with whatever
We can
we
share
as
our
a group
opinion.
decide we wanna vote on, then I would just be the one to do the vote.
Are they going to vote on the?
Weighted thing?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Amen.
'Cause there was an email just a little before the meeting about, what small school districts are actually attending, and there's not many yet that have registered to have someone vote there, so they're like, please, yeah.
Was Granite Falls on?
Yes, they're actually attending in person. You can do digital or in person. I mean, we can all go if we want to vote.
Does anybody else want to be involved in this? Going once, going twice. I'll ask for a motion to nominate Gigi Golder as our voting delegate for Wausau General Assembly. I have a motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, you have one more job.
Come on.
And I believe that is all. We have executive session for 15 minutes. Then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Real estate.
Real estate. Will anybody need a break before we go? We'll take 5 minutes so that everybody can get everything torn down and get out of here. I want to thank everybody for coming this evening, and your comments are all taken under advisement. We appreciate it.
And I will reach out tomorrow probably to the administrative team.
Tomorrow we have work days at Solon High School,
Yep.
so we won't be necessarily in our offices. So just,
Are we adjourned?
okay.
No, I ask for a motion to adjourn. We'll start executive session at 8:33 and be done at 8:48. The motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
To go out of executive session. We have a
So
motion.
moved.
Back in regular
All in
session.
favor?
Aye.
We're back in regular session, so, we have a motion to end regular session.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Executive session was extended from closure at 8:48 to 8:57. Closing up the regular meeting at 8:57 p.m.
The comments are down there, and that's.